Okay, so we're in the land of throughput accounting, and we've just finished this in class, so hopefully you'd have gone through it or watched the videos as well. And I think the thing you want to pick up on or appreciate when you're talking about throughput is to understand that throughput can be applied in at least two key clear contexts. Um, Almost like a context of trying to choose the best item. Oh, here we sort of the best item that gives you the highest throughput. So if you have a number of products that you're selling, or looking at a process where maybe a single product is passing through a process and you're looking at the bottlenecks, if you like, through the process. When I say the bottlenecks, the process that is delaying you. So you can only move as fast as that slowest process, and therefore you will produce to that pace of the slowest process, just because we don't want to have inventory sort of holding us back, or inventory sort of being stored, excessive inventory, because that's cash tied up and we're wasting it, blah, blah, blah. So the point really is to make sure that we're moving at the pace of the slowest item, of the slowest machine, so to speak, because that's the best you can do. There's no point, right? Okay, great. So let's look at this. And that's kind of the general idea. And of course, please, look at the lecture notes, review the topic in general, but let's carry on. So let's look at question 55. When demand exceeds supply. So demand here, of course, we're saying, I don't know, this is the demand curve, that's the supply curve. When demand exceeds supply, so more people want a product, generally the price goes up ultimately because more people want this product. It could go up for any reason. Just people think it's a great idea. It's a great health product or something. I don't know, some celebrity has suddenly started thinking about it or whatever. Key point is it's gone up. People have more income, whatever. The key point is it's gone up. What would include the throughput accounting ratio? Remember, the throughput accounting ratio is the ratio between return per hour and the factory costs per hour. So your focus is, in this scenario, what can we do if you like to improve the um, the throughput, if you like, right? So where was it? One second, my mouse has disappeared again. This happens. Whoops! No, I don't want that. 1 second. Here we are. Yes, there. So I highlighted earlier on that what you're interested in is that, or what you're always held back by, is the slowest machine. So it says here an increase in the speed of the fastest machine. Well, like I said, it's not the fastest machine we're interested in. It's about the slowest machine, right? Because we need to, if we wish to improve output overall, we need to improve, and we did a question like that in class, we need to improve the output of the slowest machine, because we don't want stock being held up. So if you have a slow machine, you can improve the fastest machine as much as you like, but then you're not going to suddenly have that progress you're looking for. So unfortunately, that one is wrong. An unexpected increase in factory rent, that comes into factory costs. So what you now see is an increase in factory costs, and that's not good because that actually brings this whole thing down. An increase in factory costs, that's a fixed cost. So we don't want that. So that does not work. Let's look at D, a 10% sales discount. So if you drop the price, I mean, here we have revenue. If you drop the actual price of revenue, all you have is just more. Yes, you have more demand, but this TPAR return is the difference between price and cost. So you actually, yes, you might have more demand, but in of itself, the margin, if you like, has actually dropped. So we don't want to be doing discounts, if you like, unless you had some more information, say on elasticity or something along those lines. But even then, you don't want to be dropping the price because, again, we're looking to maximize the difference between revenue and costs, which is what you see over here. So it says here a 5% wage increase. So you can have a wage increase, which is an increase in the cost here. But if you have a higher, it says an improvement in productivity. So overall, you have a greater return, if you like, up here. So an increase in 8% here versus an increase in 5% here will overall lead to an overall increase in the TPAR. So C is your best answer there. Okay, great. So the answer there is C. So let's move on to the next thing. So 56, it says a company decides decides which of the three mutually exclusive products to make in its factory based on maximizing the company's throughput accounting ratio? I thought this was a very sneaky question, but really required to actually kind of understand what's going on. So I think I always say that I think one of the reasons of doing this thing early and studying this early is to be able to come into contact with questions that look like this. On the face of this looks like a pretty straightforward question. You're just going to look and think, right, okay, you know what I'm going to do? My throughput here is 20. My throughput here is 30. And my throughput here is 4. So therefore, my throughput per hour, if you like, is 2, because that's 20 divided by 10, right? So my throughput per hour is actually 2. My throughput per hour here is actually 1.5. And my throughput per hour here, which is 4 divided by 2.5, is, is my calculator. Is that right? Yes. 4 divided by 2.5 is 1.6. Okay, great. So total factory costs, excluding direct materials, are 150. We're not, if you look at it, we're not given the total machine hours. So we almost need to kind of sort of think about what's going on here. The company cannot make, this is the key phrase, and I had to just sort of read this twice. The company cannot make enough of any of the products to satisfy external. You can't make enough of any of the products. So even if you tried, you can't even make enough of any of the products. Now, given that we're all in the same factory, and given that we're talking about, if you like, the overall hours that be available, the factory cost per hour would be the same for each of them. The same factory cost per hour would be the same denominator. So we can sort of just compare, if you like, these as we go along. So if you look at this from here, given that the factory cost per hour, because I'm going to be saying throughput per hour divided by the factory cost per hour to find the TPAR, this is going to be the same for all three items. I really can do the ratio just by comparing their throughputs. And I can see from here that I'm definitely going to be producing X, because it's telling me that even if I try to produce all of X, I wouldn't be able to meet the demand for X. So I'm never going to technically produce Y or Z under these circumstances, as I am, because throughput here is much better. Unless a few things happen. So if I decide to increase the selling price of Z by 10%. So let's see what happens if I increase the selling price of Z by 10%. The selling price of Z by 10%, so that's 220 times, well, that's 2, right? And that becomes 22. And if I say 22 minus 16, yes, was it 10%? Let me just check again. Yes, by 10%. Increase the selling price by 10%. I will have 22. And 22, of course, minus 16 gives me 6. So 22 minus 16. So my throughput becomes 6, right? And my new throughput per hour becomes 6 divided by 2.5. And 6 divided by 2.5 lifts my throughput per hour to 2.4. You see where I'm going? So from the face of it, if that happened, well, yes, that would improve the company's TPAR, because I would shift to now producing Z. I would stop producing X. I would just produce Z, because I couldn't even produce as much as Z if I wanted to. Right? This is the key point here. I couldn't make enough of any of these products even if I tried. So I'm going to, like I said earlier on, this question here was looking at processes here. Was talking about processes. And I highlighted earlier on, throughput is either about processes or you have these mutually exclusive products and I have to pick the best one based on throughput. Okay, let's look at the next question. Increase the selling price of Y by 10%. So here's Y. If I increase this by 10%, that's 4, right? So that's 44. 44 minus 10 is 34. 34 divided by 20. 34 divided by 20 gives me a throughput of 1.7. So yes, it's increased, but it's still not as high as product X. So that will not increase my overall throughput. I'll still be making product X. So this will not improve our overall throughput. If I reduce the, I'll just clean this so that I have space to deal with the next questions. Then it says that if I reduce the material cost of product Z by 5%, so here's product Z cost, if I reduce this by 5%, so basically this becomes 0.95, 16 times 0.95, 16 times 0.95, and I have here 15.2, 15.2. So I have here 15.2, and I take that away from 20, and I have 4.8 as the throughput, and I do 4.8 divided by 2.5, 4.8 divided by 2.5, improved 1.92, but still not enough. Still not enough to stop me making product X, right? Product X gives me a throughput of 2, doesn't it? Because that's 20 divided by 10. So I'm still going to keep making product X, so this does nothing for my TPR. And then let me try it for product Y. If I decide to drop this by 10% as well, that's 0.05. I'm sorry, 5% of that, sorry, 0.05. And so that means that my new value is 9.5. And then my selling price is 40. So yes, I have 40 minus 9.5, which is that 30.5. 30.5 divided by 20 is just slightly better at 1.525. And that's still not as good as 2. So I'm still going to keep producing X, and therefore my TPAR has not changed. Cool, great stuff. I think I'm going to be doing these in twos, in batches of twos, because some of them can get a bit long, to give you a break to sort of think of it that way. Cool, great stuff. So I'll see you in the next video for the next questions.